So, good morning, everyone. Today, I will be sending to you a recording about our first lesson in Chapter 1 entitled Historical Antecedents in the Course of Science and Technology. So, basically, from the title itself, no, we will be talking about the previous development in science and technology from different civilizations. So let's start now. So in this lesson, we will be discussing about the different advancement in the ancient time. So basically, we will going to discuss the achievements of the early civilizations. So when we talk about early civilizations, we are referring to example Sumerians, Babylonians, and Egyptians. Then from there, we will going to discuss the different advancement up to the modern time or to the contemporary time. So first is the Sumerian civilization. So your Sumerian or Samaria is located at the southernmost tip of the ancient Mesopotamia. So Mesopotamia, from the word meso, middle, it's located in the middle of the river. Currently Mesopotamia is can be in the Iran or Iraq area, no? In that area for the current time. So the Sumerian civilization is very known for their high degree of cooperation. They're cooperating with each other in order to achieve the goal. No, so basically, what is that goal? The Sumerian people are not contented, no, of what are the nature given to them. So basically, they want to develop, no, things in order to make their life easier aside from the things that is or that are available in the nature. For that reason, no, they were developed or they were able to develop different things that help them, no, to connect with science and technology. So the first invention by the Sumerian civilization is the cuneiform. So basically, cuneiform is a system but not a language, no, wherein they utilize word pictures and symbols which are carved on the clay, and they use wedge instrument to carve symbols or pictures on the clay, and then they left it to dry. So, with the use of cuneiform, the Sumerian people able to record, no, important events in their everyday life. The second invention of the Sumerian people is the Uruk city. So basically, this is a wonder invention, not only because it is the first city, no, true city in the world, but because also of how they were able to create this kind of city. So it is believed that the Sumerian people used the mud or the clay that is present in the river, and then this clay mixed with the reeds. No? These mixtures produce a bricks, basically a sand-baked bricks, which is a very good idea, no? A very good engineering idea to create an infrastructure at the time that there are no materials available in order to create a strong structure. So these sand-baked bricks are used to protect them from the harsh environment or harsh weather, and also they were able to create a wall, no, around the city that will help them to protect from wild animals and also from the raiders, no, or neighboring raiders entering the city. The next invention is the Great Ziggurat of Ur. So basically, ziggurat is like a church. So this is known as the Mountain of God, and this is constructed the same manner with the city of Uruk, wherein they use only the sand-baked bricks. So only the priests are allowed to enter in this place because this is known as the sacred place of their chief god. The next invention are the irrigation and dikes. So at this time of the Sumerian civilization, they have also problem with mass production of the food because also of the increased population. And of course, because also of the nature of the environment where they are located. So they have common problems like for example, they have a hard time getting water from the river going to their farmlands and sometimes there are a flooding no, caused by the river. So to solve this problem, the Samarian people use or created dikes and irrigation to bring the water going to their farmlands. At the same time, they can control the flooding no, from the river. So basically, this method are considered to be beneficial in terms of engineering works wherein they use the dikes and the mechanism as like canals wherein they were able to enjoy a farming all year round and harvesting without thinking of problems like for example getting a problem with water or flood from the river. No? As a result, they have increase of their food production. The next invention is your sailboat. Basically, at the time of the Sumerian civilization, the most common transportation is through waterways. So basically, they use boat to carry products and also to transfer from one area to another area. At this time of civilization they wanted to discover no so they wanted to go from one area to another area and because also of their population getting larger, but the problem with the boats, they are not able to accommodate more people and products, and for that reason they were able to invent no sailboats wherein they can transport essential foods no and trades that can help them to develop their culture and of course to spread no information from one area to another easily. The next invention is wheel. So basically, wheel at the current times is used for transportation. But at the time of the Sumerian civilization, wheel is used for farm work and food processes. So with the help of this wheel, they were able to produce larger of food or mass produce food much easier, no? So basically, they use wheel to mill the grains, but with the use of the wheel, they can do it with less effort and, of course, less consumed time. The next would be the plow. Basically, plow was already invented pala, no? At the time of the Sumerian civilization. So basically, they use this also for farming, wherein uh, the the plow will be used to dig the soil, and then they can easily plant the seeds, and from there they can farm no in a fast manner without taking so much effort and time. So even at the time of the Sumerian civilization, they have already an idea of roads, no? Because they have also to transfer from one area to another, and because of the problem with weather, no? Like for example, raining. So of course, pag mabasa yung lupa, they become soft and it became muddy, which is very hard for them to transfer their food, no? From one area to another. It's very hard for them to trade. And for that reason, they created the roads. But at this time, they used the sand-baked bricks, also poured with bitumen. So this bitumen is like an asphalt that will help them to smoothen the road. So because of that, they were able to trade no in all seasons, even at the rainy season. After the Sumerian civilization is the Babylonian civilization. Basically, the Babylonian civilization also emerged at the Mesopotamia, basically near the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. So Babylonians are known no, for their skills, no, as builders, engineers, and architects. And for that reason, at the time of their civilization, they have already like stylistic building, no, or architecture at the time. When I say stylistic architecture, like for this example, the Hanging Garden of the Babylon, which is believed, no, to be built, no, by the king of the Babylonian, Nebuchadnezzar II, for his wife, which is Queen Amethyst. No, but at the moment, no, at the current time, there is no physical evidence that prove that really the Hanging Gardens of Babylon exist before. So this garden of Babylon or Hanging Garden of Babylon is said to be made up of layers of gardens, and each layer of gardens are made up of different spices of plants, trees, and veins. Another civilization yet very famous for its invention is the Egyptian civilization. So basically, this is located at the North Africa. So when we say Egypt, of course, the first thing that comes in our mind is the pyramid, no? And basically established by their pharaoh. But aside from their engineering technology, there are a lot of contributions that the Egyptian civilization contributed to the world that still, at the current times, are considered to be essential. First invention is your papyrus, or also known as the paper, of the Egypt civilization. So papyrus is actually a plant. No, this is grow abundantly along the Nile River in the Egypt. But the Egyptian people process this plant in order to create a paper through this plant. And the advantage of using papyrus or paper, because compared to the Babylonian, or to the Sumerian civilizations, they were still using clay tablets, and tablets or clay tablets are actually heavy, especially if you carry it from one area to another to spread information. And for that reason, the use of paper or papyrus became known, especially for recording information and recording important events in their daily lives. Of course, if you have paper, you must have ink, no? Because at the time of the Sumerian and Babylonian civilization, they used instrument to carve the clay. But this time, if you're using paper, you must have an ink. And the Egyptian people able to create by combining different suits that will produce ink of different colors. And because of that, no, they were able to record history, culture, and different information through their papyrus and with the use of their ink. The next one is your hieroglyphics. So basically, your hieroglyphics is also a system of writing, no, not a language, and uses also symbols. The same with cuneiform. It is believed by other historians that the hieroglyphics actually came from the cuneiform, no, based on the succession of the events of the different civilizations. It is because um, it can be because of the trade, no, as a result of trade between the civilizations. But according to the Egyptian people, they believe that the writing system is actually provided to them by their gods. So at the current time, your hieroglyphics are still existing, no, and famous, and it can be found in the pyramids. Okay, the next invention is your cosmetics. So, cosmetics is not only function for aesthetic reasons, but it is also used for health reasons. Now, for example, they have this what you called a kohl, and this kohl is used uh, um, basically applied around the eyes, and the function of this is to prevent or to cure eye diseases. So the school was created by mixing soot, no, or you call this malachite, and this malachite is mixed together with a galena, which is a mineral. So aside from that, they believe also that if you are wearing makeup, you are protected from evil, and beauty is a sign of holiness. So at until right now, cosmetics are actually, the booming multi-billion industry that used not only by female but also by male. Another invention from the Egyptian civilization is the use of wig. But compared as today, wig is used not only for aesthetic purposes, but actually for their wellness. No, for example, they use the wigs especially to protect the shaved heads of the wealthy Egyptians, and protect from what? Protect basically from the rays of the sun. And it is believed that it is better to use wig than using scarf because the heat can easily escape, no, from the wig compared to the scarf. And of course, they believe that using a wig actually more cleaner than the natural hair because it can prevent the accumulation of the head lice. So another invention is the water clock or the clepsydra. So basically, they use this as a time-keeping device wherein they utilizes the mechanism of gravity which affecting the flow of the water. So basically, yung remaining, no, na water from the first vessel, if maliit na lang yon, that means the time mas marami na yung nag-elapse. And then kapag konti na kapag marami pa, that means the time is konti pa lang. Kung marami pa, konti pa lang. At then kung konti na lang yung natira, that means the time elapsed is more, no? So they use that as a water clock or timekeeping device. Now, after from the Egyptian civilization, now let's proceed to the Greek civilization. So this is located at the southern part of Europe. When we say Greek civilization, they are famous with their infrastructure, like Colosseum and Olympics. But aside from that, Greek civilization are also known for their uh, philosophy, and mathematics. So basically, Greek civilization is believed to be the birthplace of the Western philosophy. And aside from that, there are a lot of contributions of Greek civilization in the field of science and technology. Okay, the first one is your alarm clock, but this one is has a complicated mechanism, no, to time the alarm. It is believed that Plato used alarm clock to signal to start for his lecture. So basically, this alarm clock is water vessels that lined up vertically. So this is how it works, no, with their alarm clock through the water vessel. Basically, you have four vessels here. The first one will flow to the second vessel according to the time, no, to flow the water. Then after this, it will be filled, it will be siphoned in a faster manner, and then the contained air here will go here and will produce a whistling sound, and this whistling sound will serve as the alarm, no, that it is time already. And then after that, the water will go from the last vessel, and then the water here can be replaced here, and then the process will start again. Next will be the water mill. So basically, they used a wheel to process the milling of the grains. But this time, instead of using the force of a human, they use water to create the mechanism to mill the grains through the force of the water. So basically, because of this, they have easy, uh, mass production of the food in terms of milling rather of the grains. Okay, the next civilization will be the Roman civilization. And it is believed that the Roman Empire are actually known for their political and social um, entity in the West. So Roman civilization are known to be the cradle of politics, no, or the starting point of the idea of politics and governance during at the time of the Roman civilization. So aside from this, Roman civilization are actually large, no, and for that reason, other civilization look up the Roman civilization as their model in terms of politics, like for example, legislation and codified laws. So aside from this, they have also other discoveries or inventions that until right now are still relevant, which can be attributed to the contribution of the Roman Empire. So example of that invention is your newspaper. No, this is also known as the Gazette. So basically, the newspaper at the Roman Empire is used to contain, no, announcement of the Roman Empire and then delivered to the people of the Roman Empire. And then basically this is made of uh, engraved, no, in the metal or some stone tablets, and then this is displayed to the public so that they will be informed about the announcement or new laws, no, implemented by the Roman Empire. And then later on they were able to create bound books or codex. So basically they make fun of record keeping, not because of their fun of carving, but later on because of converting tablets, no, writing in the tablets into paper, because paper is not easily break, lightweight, and did not occupy much space. They have now more time, no, or in short, record keeping is much easier for them. And for that reason, they were able to keep records, no, like documenting historical events and of course legislating laws, no, for their um, politics side. And for that reason, later on, the literature, no, from being carved into clay is also transferred, no, into parchment or paper or your bound books or codex. So the idea of forming a pages into book, no, basically stacking up a papyrus, are actually started by Julius Caesar. And then from the stack of papyrus, they started to have a cover in order to protect the stack of papyrus. They started to have wax as a cover, but then later on, they changed that into animal skin because this is more stronger and longer lasting compared to the wax. And because of that, the ancient Roman Empire able to produce the first books or the codex. Now, let's go to the contribution of the Roman Empire in terms of architecture. At the time of the Roman government, they are very supportive with the development of field of engineering and architecture. And for that reason, there are important, no, or very major projects that are built by the Roman architecture. No, example of that are churches, like for example, cathedrals, basilica, aqueduct coliseum, amphitheaters, and even residential houses, no. So they have actually very great contribution in terms of architecture because at the time of the Roman civilization, they are into the development in the field of engineering and architecture. Of course, when we say about Roman civilization, we will not going to forget about Roman numerals, which is their own number system. And basically, they developed the Roman numerals because they have already a hard time of accounting, no, their trade concerns and also for easy communication. And for that reason, the Roman Empire developed these Roman numerals. Okay. So aside from those mentioned civilization, there is another civilization that is located in the far east of Asia, which is very far, no, from the other civilization or ancient civilization, known as the Chinese civilization. So Chinese civilization is considered to be the oldest civilization in Asia, if not the world. So among, no, of the famous contributions of the ancient civilization are your silk trade, and because of the distance of the Chinese civilization to the other ancient civilization, there are not great amount was written about the ancient China. But despite about the less popularity about of Chinese civilization, we cannot discredit the significant contribution of the Chinese civilization to the world. So the first one, of course, they are very famous with the silk. So basically silk produced by the worms, and the Chinese people able to develop technology that they can harvest the silk and then they can process this into paper and clothing. So because of this, no, there is of the silk trade, China was able to go out and trade in the outside world and making exchanges in terms of cultural, economic, and scientific in the other civilization. And for that reason, it creates actually bridge to the gap between the Western world and the Middle Kingdom. Another contribution is the tea production. So basically, tea is a beverage which is produced by pouring a hot or a boiling water over a crushed dried tea leaves. So it was believed that the emperor, Chinese emperor, was the first to drink the first tea. No? And basically, the tea production was created when an unknown Chinese inventor created a machine that can shred the tea leaves into strips, no, which is an important ingredient in making your tea. And today, your tea production are actually pave way, no, to the creation of tea as one of the most popular beverages in the world. If you talk about China, you cannot do away the Great Wall of China. And the Great Wall of China are known to be the largest and the most extensive infrastructure being built by the nation. So, or by the China, no, by the country. Um, the Great Wall of the China is made by the stone, by the brick, wood, by the earth and other materials that actually shows to you how advanced, no, the technology or the engineering technology of China at the time. So today there are some areas of the Great Wall that already has damage but still used as a world attraction, of course, because of its historical significance and how aesthetically and in terms of structure, no, is very good. Okay, the next one is the gunpowder. Basically, the gunpowder is created for the idea or to the aim or the goal of having immortality, no? And it was developed by a Chinese alchemist. Basically, the gunpowder is a mixture of your charcoal, sulfur, potassium nitrate. And with the idea of creating immortality, it was accidentally invented a black powder that if mixed, no, it can create a large amount of heat and gas in an instant. And ironically, instead of creating immortality, it's actually creating like death, no? Countless death. Because as of today, that gunpowder is actually used to propel bullets from guns, cannons, and used for war, no? And basically, instead of prolonging the life, It's actually the reason of death of the life of a person. Now, if we're done already with the ancient time, now let's go to the medieval or Middle Ages. So, Middle Ages are known, no, for its a lot of wars basically at this time. So it's more of invasion and migration. And for that reason, more of the inventions or development of technology is more focused in the fields of weaponry, navigation, mass food and farm production, and of course, health. And because of the wars, it resulted to decline of population, health issues, and basically caused no with the decrease of population. But at the later part of the Middle Ages, there is a significant increase in population, and then the trade and commerce also increase. And for that reason, there is also a great demands for transportation and technology. And at this time, innovative minds already created, no, at the time or at this period. So one of the great minds at this period is the creation of your printing press. So in the name of Johann Gutenberg, he was able to invent the printing press. So basically, it was invented to address the need, no, for publishing books that would spread more information at a faster rate to many people. And the invention, no, is able or pave way to accessible information even to those individuals who could not write, no? And basically this printing press, Johann Gutenberg utilized wooden machine that can extract juices from fruits, and this extracted juices are attached to a metal impression of letters that is pressed firmly to the cast metal into a piece of paper, and then made an exact impression on paper, and that's your printing press, no, that's how it works. And because of this, the information can be easily spread from one area to another, even to those persons or individual that cannot write. So that is your printing press. So in terms of health issues at the Middle Ages, this is also another concern. And because of that, the microscope was invented by Zacharias Janssen. This is the first compound microscope that was invented. And basically, the purpose of your microscope at that time and even today is to observe organisms that cannot be seen by our naked eye. And this is used to prevent and discover, no, various diseases and illness that caused the death of many individuals before. The Middle Ages is known also as the Age of Exploration. So at this time, there is also an invention of your telescope, which is used to observe remote objects that greatly help your navigators. So aside from your telescope, you have other instrument that invented that help for the navigators at the age of the exploration. Like for example, your compass, your oars, rudders made sea traveling easier and safer because of these inventions. And basically because Middle Age is also known as the war, invasions, migrations. Weapons are also invented at this time. So basically, they developed crossbows, low bows that could attack the enemies even at the far range, no? And keeping themselves safe with protection from the walls and fortresses. In terms of a close range combat, no, they have to had hand combat, wear protective materials, like for examples, creation of iron body armors. The problem with your body armors because it is heavy, no, and for that reason they have limited movements because of the heaviness of an iron body armors. Later on, this was solved by the invention of the chainmail. So basically, that's how it progressed in terms of war weapon at the time of the Middle Ages. And of course, after Middle Ages, the modern times. So, at the time of the Middle Ages, that's the time of the decline of population. But at the end of the Middle Ages, going to the 19th century, there are actually now booming of the world populations. And for that reason, there are more demand about goods in a faster rate. You have food, no, to serve to the people. And for that reason, people needed efficient transportation so that the food, the goods, can be uh, circulated, no, in a fast manner, also in a larger distance. So because of that reason, transportation through animals must be upgraded. So industrialization become massive at this time. And for that reason, there are a lot of complicated problems also arise at this time. Like for example, food processing, medicine, and challenges in the health are actually more of concern, no, at the modern times. And later on, the problem with your food that spoiled easily is solved by the process through pasteurization that developed by a French biologist, microbiologist, and a chemist in the name of Louis Pasteur. So invented pasteurization, a way to solve like killing the harmful bacteria that can spoil the food in a faster manner. And for that reason, you can now enjoy the food in a longer period because of a process of mass pasteurization. So aside from science, technology, and medicine, um, excuse me. Other works that contributed by Louis Pasteur are fermentation and vaccination that actually pave way also to the food technology and also in the medicine field. Another invention, no, or contribution in the modern times is the petroleum refinery. Because of the industrialization, we need fuels basically, and Samuel M. Keir able to invent kerosene from petroleum. So basically, refining the petroleum into kerosene. Kerosene later on is referred to be as the illuminating oil because the kerosene used to provide lights to the residential homes, no, uh, and lightning also to the eye lighting rather the different infrastructures. And later on, it was applied also for heating purposes. So the petroleum refinery industry at this time are now used in powering automobiles, factories, power plants, and among others, which pave way to the industrialization and more development at the modern times. So, because of industrialization, communication must be also upgraded, no? And there are a lot of things that need to be discussed in a faster manner, like concern in the country, problems in the country that need an abrupt decision. And the development of telephone by the in the name of Alexander Graham Bell, which is a very important invention at the time in terms of communication. So the invention of the telephone able to communicate in a faster manner from different areas, no, very even far away through the telephone technology by Alexander Graham Bell. Another important invention at the modern time is the calculator. Although calculator already existed before, but in the modern times it is more fashioned and more technical that can able to compute complicated equations. And because of the invention also of calculator, it also paved way to the development of complex processing machines like computer. And in terms of Filipino inventions, of course, Philippines are have a lot of contributions also in terms of development in science and technology. Not only in our country, but these inventions also help the other people around the world. So Philippines is a country that vulnerable to the natural disasters, and for that reason, most of the discoveries and invention by the Filipinos are actually built from indigenous material that can able to adapt to harsh tropical. First is the salamander amphibious tricycle. So basically, this was developed by the H2O technologist headed by Dominic Inchong and Lamberto Armada together with the chief designer Victor Atoy Lave. Now, basically, the salamander is an amphibious tricycle. From the word amphibious, basically it can cross in water and lakes, and also it can travel from island to island. Since if we consider the archipelago of the Philippines, this invention is very useful and has a lot of potential in terms of easy transportation in archipelago like in the Philippines. The next one is the salt lamp. I think you're very familiar with this one, and it's actually go around in different news, no, TV stations about Isa Mihino, which is the inventor of the salt lamp. So basically, she invented a lighting uh, system that utilizes a material abundant in the Philippines salt water. So, which is this, I mean, the salt water. So basically, this is an alternative lighting lamp, which is an environmentally friendly light source that runs on salt water. So all you need to do is salt water, no, and the system of the salt lamp. It is more safer because you have no risk of fire and no emission of toxic gases. And of course, it is very important or can be very useful in far-flung areas that they can create their own salt water by mixing only 2 tablespoons of salt and glass of tap water, and they can have already their light through the salt lamp. And another one is your medical incubator in the name of Dr. Del Mondo. So basically, your incubator is used for newborn baby, which is a preterm baby, no? So kulang sa days basically. So the medical incubator creating a condition that is suitable for a newborn baby. And not only this one, but Dr. Del Mondo has a lot of contributions, like for example, in terms of immunization and treatment of jaundice and brat diet for which cure your diarrhea. Another development is the mosquito ovicidal or livicidal trap system, which was developed by the DOST-ITDI, and they were able to create a system known as the larvicidal trap system on the OL trap, which basically made of natural ingredients that can kill the mosquito but safe for humans and the environment. And of course, your e-jeepney, no? So jeepney is the most dominated transportation in the Philippines, no, used by Filipinos. However, the jeepney has contributed also to the noise pollution and also emitting black smoke, no? And for that reason, it's a contributor to environmental problems. So to counter these disadvantages, electric jeepney or e-jeepney was invented. So through this, the transportation was through electricity instead of expensive diesel. And for that reason, this is more environmentally friendly because it does not emit any smoke and noise. No? And for that reason, this is more advantageous compared to the traditional jeepney. Okay, so what are the things or important points that we have to remember in this topic. That science and technology is very dynamic, no? Since human civilization started on the planet. It started even at the time of the Sumerian going to the modern civilization, no? And every ancient civilization has a huge contribution to the development of science and technology. So it's not only because of this one civilization or this person, but it's actually through a process, no? Through an evolution of time, uh, different civilization at the different areas around the world contributed to the development of what we have right now. And of course, every ancient civilization had unique tools that they used in their daily lives, and until now we still use, no? And if there some of them are not even existed right now, some of them are being upgraded, some of them are modified, but still they are create ideas uh, that pave way to a more technical and more useful devices that we are still using right now. So I think we have to be thankful to our ancestors, not only to our ancestors by the Filipinos, but also around the world that contributed to the development of science and technology around the world. So this is the references of this lesson, and if you have questions, we will going to discuss that. Aside from you will be asking me, I will be asking also you questions next meeting. So we will have a Q&A next meeting through Google Meet. So have a nice day, God bless, and keep safe.